What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Community Farm Alliance podcast. I'm your host for the Blackberry series. My name is Vaughn Barnes, and I have with me a really dope guest out of Hardin County, Kentucky. Now, what made this guest so dope to me is the fact that she too is on a micro homestead. Renee, tell me about Fraley Farm Mini Homestead.
I live on I guess you say, 0.34 acre lot
Wow.
in the city of Elizabethtown. And I am a country girl in the city. And so I love to eat wild meat. I love rabbit. You bring it, I'm probably going to eat it. And so I kind of talked around to some different people about possibly going into raising rabbits. I had a neighbor actually that used to raise rabbits in their backyard. And she kept trying to get me and trying to convince me to start raising them, but I never would until now. I finally became interested about 3 years ago. And it's hard to get people to hunt for you and go bring the critters and animals that you love to eat. And so I decided just to raise my own. So I started out actually with chickens. And then did those for about a year, figured out, okay, that's pretty easy, not too bad. And then I talked around to some people that had rabbits, and that's how I got started doing that. And then eventually I ventured out to quail about 6 months ago. And then I guess I've lived in my home for 20 years. And probably almost that entire amount of time, I've had a garden, which seemed to grow every year. And now the garden is the entire fence line between me and my neighbor, and I've also curved it around and started on the fence line on the backyard, on the back side of the property.
You started with chickens, and everybody knows, I like to say this, chicken is like the gateway drug of animals when it comes to like homesteading.
I agree.
You get the chicken and you think you only gonna have 6 or whatever your ordinance says, and then you end up with a bunch of them. How many chickens do you have? And you said on a city lot. What made you go chickens first?
It's one of those things where you want to do something, and then you find somebody, okay, you got chickens, tell me about it. And then next thing you know, you get a phone call of, hey, my friend's going to sell all of her chickens. Are you interested? And for the price, I couldn't let it go. I did a little bit of homework in the meantime and went ahead and purchased. And when I purchased them, she sold me the chicken coop, all of the fixings with the chickens, some feed, trash cans, and 6 hens. And right now I have 8 hens, and it's hard to stop and not buy more because chicken math is for real. Every time you see a baby chicken or you see a pretty color or this color egg, you want another chicken. So it's hard. So I just decided, let's just stay there and keep it where it is. So that's how I started with chickens.
So you did the chickens, you did chicken math. My multiplication, and not even addition, my multiplication with chicken math is ridiculous. How did you transition into rabbits? You said something about growing up on a farm, and how did you transition to rabbits?
That's probably one of my favorite meats to eat outside of course, beef, pork, and chicken. And I used to date someone who was a hunter, and that's kind of got my spark going with wanting to raise rabbits because, you have to wait a certain time of year to get any rabbits. And then also talked around, like I say, to some different individuals who raised rabbits, sought some advice. And most of the time people always say it's easy. It's easy to do. It's not that much, it's not very time consuming. And my time is limited because of my job, single mom, and then trying to take care of a home and all the other responsibilities. And then I decided, okay, let's just give it a try. So as everybody else does, you start out with the breeding trio, and then that trio became 4, and then rabbit math took over. And I think at one time I had like 35, 40 rabbits at one time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So you have to kind of downsize and wind back down some more.
Talk a little bit about the trio and why you start that way.
Well, the trio is 2 does and 1 buck is what the recommended start is. But then you get a rabbit over here, and then you go over here and you buy another rabbit. And then somebody says, hey, I need a cage empty. Take all these rabbits with you. And then before you know it, you got 6, 7, 8 rabbits. And then they start breeding.
Man.
Then you have a surprise. And then you start building more cages. And in my situation, I built hutches. And then I went from hutches to a ground tractor. And then a ground tractor, I also ended up with I took a large dog kennel and turned it into a rabbit tractor as well.
They don't burrow out?
No, because it has a base on it.
I've talked to a few people about doing colonies and things like that. And then outside of rabbits, what was your other animal?
Quail. I have Caturnix quail.
Okay. Now, I started quail a little bit ago. I had a farmer that, actually he gave me a quail. He said, here you go. You can have these. And that's what started me on the journey. Tell me a little bit about yours.
My journey began with having a patient who raised quail. And because I'm a physician assistant, so talking about my animals to my patients becomes a great conversation piece. And so just having a conversation with one of my patients, like I said, he introduced me to quail, which I had eaten quail before, but I had never raised them. And again, the conversation was, oh, they're so easy to raise and not very much time consuming. And this is what you do and yada, yada, yada. And then we ended up, I got some quail from him, and that was kind of the start.
He gives you quail. How many did you start with? Did you do a trio? Was it like chicken math or?
I think I started with probably 8 or 10.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but it's not, because you have to separate your roosters and your hens. And then if you have too many roosters, you have to, either move them to a separate cage or you have to process them.
Why do you need to separate your roosters and hens with quail? Because I don't separate my roosters.
No, it's not separating. It's you have to have the correct ratio. You have to have a ratio. I do a ratio of 4 hens to 1 rooster. So that way they're not overbred or underbred. And then, you always want to keep an extra rooster, which I usually do, in case one gets hurt or one gets sick. And that way you have enough to continue to have fertilized eggs.
Now, do you do this in a apiary type of setting? Like, what is the?
No, I actually took 2 rabbit cages and turned them into sort of a hutch setting. So I took the cages and built a hutch, sort of. I built a base with a roof, and you just set the cages in there. And I have 2 of those cages, which are about 36 inches by 30 by 24. I've got 2 of those. And then I have a 3rd cage, which I actually put out in my chicken coop because of the heat. And that's my grow out cage. One is a white jumbo Caturnix, and then the other is a jumbo brown Caturnix.
Now, you mentioned the space. How many quail could you put in that 36 by 30?
Well, it depends. If it's my breeders, I try to keep it to about 11 or 12. If it's the grow outs, it's going to eventually be jam packed. But I'm constantly rotating them too. So, when I'm adding some, they're a few weeks apart. So that way it's a rotation to keep it, reasonable number. I would say probably 20, 25 in a cage, about that size for the grow outs.
Got you. Now, I've had this situation happen with me and chickens with them aging out. How do you age out your quail? Or do you know, like, all right, it's been 2 weeks, you're gone? Or how do you age them out?
Well, I actually just started having quail about 6 months ago.
Right.
So they're not old enough to age out. But what I'm planning to do is when winter comes, everybody goes. Yes, it sounds terrible, but I don't want to have to take care of more animals in the snow and ice. And quail are messy and they love to get in the water. For the quail, I have jay feeders for their food, and then I have rabbit waterers. And of course, they're going to freeze in the winter. And then if you turn around and put a bowl of water out there, they're going to step in it and they're extremely messy. To me, it would just be more work than I really plan to do. So quail really don't age out for me because I'm going to, like I say, process all of them at the winter as it comes. But if I have any that are ill, any that are injured, then I will go ahead and process them.
Did you know that CFA is a nonprofit organization that supports family farms, equity work, food access, and policy work across Kentucky? If you're interested in supporting any of this work, please go to cfaky.org and go to our Donate tab in order to donate or become a member today. We really appreciate any and all help that we get, and it goes back to helping both farmers and consumers across the Bluegrass State. For more information, go to www.cfaky.org. Once again, that's www.cfaky.org. Thank you. And now back to our show.
All right, so we're back. And we were talking, while the PSA was going on, we were talking during the break, how you grew up, where you were from, and let people know a little backstory.
I'm from Bardstown, Kentucky. I am the youngest of 4 children. And we lived, as people would probably say, in the country. And so we lived on a 1-acre lot, but the area of Bardstown where we lived, the whole area on, I guess, I'm not sure if it's 8-10 acres, was Lydian property. That's the property where my father grew up. My grandmother was 2 doors over, and then it's kind of in a circle. And my dad's brothers and sister, they all built homes in that area. And so once the homes were eventually tore down and people moved away, my father had a large barn in an area where we raised our pigs. And so at one time, I think we had about 150 pigs. So we had pigs, we had lamb, we had cattle. We only had 2 cows at one time, or 3. And I don't remember, but I was also told that my father raised rabbits and we had chickens as well. So the main thing I remember, of course, growing up was tending to the pigs. That really sparked my interest in medicine because I was responsible for handling the baby pigs, castrating, cutting teeth. We would ring the pigs, get them ready for the market. We had a huge garden. My dad taught us how to set the plants and set the seeds, how to take care of them, driving tractors. I mean, we did a lot of work as children, probably a lot more than these children nowadays are taught to do. They just go to McDonald's, we had to go get our food.
So speaking a little bit about getting your food, and that's a really near and dear subject to me because of something I was doing over summer, teaching these kids. What was something, or what is a value that you feel that you learned having a garden yourself that you tried to impart on your own children?
What you sow, you will harvest. And that's just a life lesson, in everyday life. If you sow bitterness, you get bitterness. If you sow good seed on good ground, you tend to that seed, you'll have a good harvest. Our garden was kind of the centerpiece for a lot of people because we provided food for a large amount of people in Bardstown. People would contact my dad and, they want some greens and they want some strawberries or some okra or whatever, And then also we did also eat our pigs. They were a source of meat for our family. We sold a lot at the market, because you have to keep the money generating. And then, we also had hunting dogs, because my dad would breed dogs for hunting. And, so I think I had a good life growing up. It was a lot different from the kids that lived in town versus where I grew up.
What do you think was one of the benefits of having your garden as a child?
Fresh vegetables. So much healthier. And again, the harvest is dependent upon what you do as far as the work that you put in.
Well, your responsibility was dealing with the pigs, and that's what got you into medicine.
Correct.
Talk a little bit more about your role with the pigs and what actually sparked that fascination.
Well, especially when the pigs were birthing, my dad would send me to the barn to sit. If they were breech, I had to pull the pigs. And again, like I say, I used to castrate them. We cut their teeth, to protect the mom's teats and stuff like that. We would ring them, getting them ready for the market.
Tell me more about ringing their noses and what that means.
That I couldn't tell you. I just know that we did it. I don't remember because I was a small child. When I left home to go to college, my dad died a few years after that. So as far as, what all the old school farming, I don't know all of the details of what everything meant.
Understood. Now,
I think you would do it for the boars to keep them more relaxed and tame so they would not be so mean. But I don't know 100%.
Now, you guys had the farm. What happened to it? What happened to the farm?
Eventually, as my father got older, he went ahead and got rid of his pigs. He got less and less and less. And then finally, he just kind of phased out. And then with the vegetable garden, same thing. It got smaller and smaller and smaller. And finally, he just said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And he was getting older. We had all moved away. I was in college. And that's kind of when it phased out.
None of your other siblings wanted the farm.
My sister still lives there, but we don't have the farm portion anymore.
Talk a little bit about that. What if that's a subject that you can't speak on? Can you talk about it?
Well, my brother passed away. He was hit by a car, so of course that's self-explanatory. I went off to college, moved here in Elizabethtown, and then at one time I had lived in Alabama when I got married once upon a time. My sister, she lives in Louisville, and she really has no interest in, farming or anything of that sort. And then we all have our houses. I've got a house here, and my other sister's in Barstown, and, so, and then health-wise, she's probably unable to do a lot of the, if she wanted to do any farming.
Farmers markets support program services. Did you know that a program like this exists in the state of Kentucky? If your market has been around for a while, or maybe you are a new and existing market, we offer marketing development. We also offer business development. We want to offer programs as such like capital support to support your market managers. There's a cost share program. We can establish your market with the SNAP EBT program. And lastly, we provide networking. For more information, please contact us at cfaky.org/FMSP. Again, that is cfaky.org/FMSP.
It's interesting to see how the farm family was this, then it went to this, and then there's somebody that keeps the farm together. Like they break apart, and then there's always one that's like, oh no, we always had this, and now you get yourself back into agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how much you're, into other people in agriculture in the city, but do you see a resurgence of farming and agriculture coming back?
With COVID and the way that the economy is going, yes. But then I also see big corporations coming in and swiping up the farmlands. They're, taking large farms and turning them into commercial businesses, or turning them into, like I say, multi-million-dollar businesses. Like the Ford plant has come to Hardin County. We also have a solar battery plant that has come to Hardin County, and they're taking over farmlands.
Wow.
Big, big, big farmlands. And, when you see something like that, and I see also Bill Gates is buying up a lot of farmland in the United States.
On your original farm back in Bardstown, you had pigs, cows, lamb, then you also mentioned dogs.
Correct.
Talk a little bit about the dogs and why they're important.
Well, my dad would raise beagles and sell them for hunting purposes. And, of course, that's also a way for people to sustain their own food, is to go out and get it.
Have you ever taken any trips to go hunting with your dad, brother, or, other people in your family?
No, because when I was a young child, that's mostly when my dad would do the hunting. When I got teenage, older, he pretty much phased out because he had an accident. He shot his gun one time, and actually, I take it back. His gun fell while he was climbing over a fence and shot a dog, ricocheted, came back, shot and killed another dog. It was a terrible accident. And after that, my dad was so scared. He said, "I'm done hunting. That's it." Yeah. And he was out there alone, didn't tell anybody where he was, just doing his normal thing. And it scared him so bad, he decided he was done. And that was the end of it.
Now, you said you were the youngest or the oldest?
The youngest.
So basically, at the end of his agriculture career is what you've seen of your father. And also that would make sense for him to say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead for the safety of myself, put it down. What did it feel like to phase out of the farm altogether? Like, were there any sentiments around like having and then not having it? Like, talk a little bit about that if you can.
I mean, it was different because, you're so used to your normal day-to-day of what you have to do to, like, where we used to have a garden, now I'm mowing it, cutting the grass down. It's just, I don't know. It felt different. It feels different more now that I'm an adult and I go home, to visit my sister and see that the land looks different. But it's got good memories. The barns are still there, but now, of course, the vultures have entered the barns, or, the roof is falling in, or, so it's bittersweet. You have good memories, but then it's like, wow, hate to see it go too.
Kentucky Double Dollars, a program of Community Farm Alliance supporting Kentucky farmers and families with over $300,000 in nutrition benefits matched in 2021. For more information or to find a location near you, visit www.kentuckydoubledollars.org.
The other thing that I wanted to start talking about that we touched on a little bit was the garden. What foods in the garden did you carry over from your childhood to the garden that you have now?
Greens. The greens in our garden when I was growing up were so fabulous. Like I said, that's one of the best memories I have is people contacting my dad and wanting us to gather greens for them. I don't know what it is about Black folks and greens, but I don't know. It's just such a good memory for me. And so every year at the end of my first set garden, the whole garden turns into greens. Half of the greens are for me and some of the greens are for my chickens. So I leave some for them too. But, the first pickings is all my family and myself. And then I share with my critters.
Now, outside of the animals on the homestead, do you sell or share anything with people, and what do you sell, by the way?
Actually, I don't sell any of my garden stuff, but I do share with just about everybody in the neighborhood. Everybody gets something. People are going to get eggs or they're going to get vegetables. And I also use my garden and my animals for barter because I have some people in the neighborhood that have fruit trees. And so we barter my chicken eggs or my quail eggs for their access to their fruit trees. So that's helpful to me because I don't have to grow any pears or apples. So I've got, unlimited access. And then as far as the vegetables, of course, when I get extras, I got a whole, I don't know, basket of tomatoes. Well, I'm not going to be able to eat all those at one time. So I just go door to door and drop off vegetables at people's houses, because a lot of the people on my street don't have gardens. So at least they have access to some fresh vegetables too. Fresh organic vegetables, because I don't put chemicals and pesticides on my vegetables. My garden is, fertilized with rabbit poo. And, I try to keep it as natural as possible, use like a leaf mulch for, mulching purposes, and also, spent grass or grass that I've cut with my real mower, a non-gas powered mower, is going to also be able to, that grass is going to mulch my vegetables. So I try to keep it as healthy as possible.
Now, you mentioned not using a gas powered mower, and that made me think about one of those little push mowers that you push.
That's a real mower. REEL. So I use that just for a small section of my yard, because that way I can use the grass, as clippings and stuff to mulch the garden, and then also I can also use it to feed my rabbits. For the rest of the yard, oh yeah, it's gas powered for the rest of it.
Now I was watching this video that we had, or that you shared with me, of you with the chickens. They do come when you call them.
Spoiled rotten.
They know whenever you call them, it's food time.
Treat time.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Besides the greens, what else do you grow in your garden?
Let's see. As far as the greens, I've got mustard and kale greens. I've got potatoes. I've got different kinds of berries. I have a tea garden, which is
Whoa. A tea garden?
A tea garden. I have a tea garden, a bee garden, a berry garden, and then the regular garden.
We're gonna get to the berry stuff in a second, but okay. I need the tea garden secrets. What goes in the tea garden?
Okay, the tea garden is gonna be stinging nettle, mint. I've got different types of mints. I've got bee balm, lemon verbena, and also lemongrass. So those are my teas. Teas to me are delicious, but then they also have medicinal purposes. And then I've got an herb garden. So I've got just herbs. Everything in my backyard is edible. In addition to that, I've got, let's see what else I got. I've got some corn. I've got some tomatoes, beets, onions, garlic. Let's see what else I got out there. Peppers. I got, green bell peppers, jalapeno peppers. I've got, let's see what else I have. I have a pumpkin.
I'll just name everything. Name everything at the grocery store.
But see, what I do is every year I try to grow something new. So this year, the new plant is going to be potatoes in feed bags. Because I'm very I tried to recycle and be cost effective. So I don't want to throw stuff away that could be useful. So I turn my feed bags into grow bags.
Now, whenever you're growing in the feed bags, do you make sure you drain them at the bottom, or do you just keep everything? Okay.
That's right. Bottom.
Now, do you do all root stuff in the feed bags? What do you grow in your feed bags?
No, feed bags, I did just the potatoes this year. This is my first year doing that.
I've seen on a few different channels on YouTube that people were growing out of feed bags and things of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that you have berries.
Yes.
In the garden. You know that this is the Blackberry series, and everybody knows the question I'm about to ask. What berry best represents you in Fraley Farm Mini Homestead?
I'm going to say strawberry. And the reason I say strawberry is because, first of all, I love the color red, because red to me represents the blood of Jesus. And so that's Jesus is my savior, and God is my father, and that guides and leads me for everything that I do. Second reason is because the strawberry is covered in seeds. And a lot of times when people ingest a strawberry, they don't even realize that they are ingesting the seed for the future. And so for me, I say I'm a strawberry because when you meet me, I'm going to plant a seed in you, whether it's a seed of knowledge, a seed of happiness, the seed of the blood of Jesus, and you can take that with you everywhere that you go. And then before you know it, you turn into a strawberry and then you become a seed. Seeds also are sown. And if you sow a good seed, you will reap and harvest a good seed. And so the same thing with a strawberry. And also with a strawberry, she's able to reach out and touch others because she has the I call it the arms that come off of her, and then they replant and then they start a new seed. And
Right.
so I'm going to call myself a strawberry.
Where do you see Fraley Farm in the future?
I think eventually I will probably buy some land. And when I buy some land, it's just going to expand. The farm itself will probably expand. And I know for sure the way I'm going now, the whole fence line is going to be guarded all the way around the whole backyard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I probably would like to start teaching some classes of how to do low-level farming.
And when you say low level, what does it mean?
Low level meaning small homesteads, probably an acre or less.
Okay.
Because there's a lot that you can do in a 1 acre lot or less. And people don't realize that. They think you have to have 5-10 acres to be able to feed your family, but it's not necessary. You just need a flower pot. And that's the start.
Yeah. Flower pot and a dream.
Mm-hmm, that's it.
Plus a few seeds. We've come to the end of our episode. So I'd like to thank Renee for showing up and, giving us good information. And like I always say, real change comes from the ground up. But until next time, peace.